Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗲 and my mission is to inspire you to grow, stand out, and take action towards the next level of your life. I interview leaders, authors, successful entrepreneurs, spiritual teachers, exceptional people who will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week and make sure you subscribe to get them as soon as they are released. Welcome to episode 169 of Personal Development Mastery. Today is the first episode of Consolidating the Knowledge, and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago on episode 165. And the only thing I will share again here in order to have some context is that I have realized after having spoken with over 100 people now that many of the actionable, the implementable knowledge that I would get from the conversations, while I would say at that time this is something that I can integrate into my own life, into my own routines if you wish, what I've realized was that many of those things remained as thoughts and ideas. In other words, they never became actions, they just remained ideas. And what I will do in this episode and the episodes that I'm going to be doing on Thursdays from now on is I will revisit some of the previous episodes and specifically pick from each of them their actionable items, the moments when something was discussed or an insight that was implementable, and it's something that if it resonates with you, you can pick it up and just do it. And I will also share very authentically with you that this is going to be a lot of experimentation until it reaches a specific format. For the time being, I will revisit and share my learnings and actionable items from the previous conversations, and I'm sure that over time it will change and tweak its form and the way it is presented, but as always, everything is a work in motion. It's a journey. So having said that, today I'm going to revisit episode 2 and episode 3, which were the 2 interviews out of the 3 episodes when I launched my podcast. So basically my first 2 interviews. And the first one was with Alan Kleinams. And that conversation has of course a special place in my heart since it was the first interview I've done for Personal Development Mastery. And Alan has a fascinating, extraordinary story from growing up in South Africa amongst apartheid and then being in the army in some horrible situations. And from that, transforming through a series of personal development books, courses, events, transforming to becoming a facilitator for Tony Robbins, learning spiritual psychology, becoming a high performance coach. And Alan talked about many things, and one thing I still remember and I have personally implemented is the fact that every day when you start your day, the first thing to do is connect with yourself. And there is one affirmation that I have learned from Alan and I use it all the time myself. And that affirmation is, today is my favorite day. It is a very powerful affirmation and it is very actionable and very easy to implement whether you're doing affirmations or not. It's just something you can always declare at the beginning of your day. Say it out loud or write it in your journal. Today is my favorite day. That really changes the perspective of everything really in your day. One other thing that Alan talked about was about healing the little child that we have inside of us. And he talked about this false idea around love or the false premises around love that most people get growing up as children. And I will share here a little snippet of Alan talking about this particular thing, so that you don't hear only my voice in this episode. So a very quick snippet of what he discussed on this topic.
And we all form a false premise or a false idea around love. So when we were young, we believed that love came from our parents, love came from other people. And when our parents didn't love us, and there were moments, lots of moments, all children go through moments where they believe their parents don't love them because they either weren't picked up at the right time, or they weren't fed at the right time, or their parents scolded them or spanked them or put them in the bedroom, or told them to sit on the naughty step and keep quiet. And so when a child is good, then it gets love and affection and it gets recognized. But when a child is not behaving the right way, then parents don't recognize the child in a loving way. So what we learn unconsciously is, oh, if I'm good, I get love. If I'm not good, I don't get love. And we carry that into adult years. And so what we're all trying to do as adults is to be accepted and feel like we can, we'll make it, and we'll fit in. So all of that is affecting us. So in order to continue to release that, you need to really recognize that we are all little children inside, and we all need to remember that we are all little children that are craving love, and perhaps we didn't get that love that we felt we deserved, or perhaps we got something that we felt we didn't deserve when we were young.
And in terms of practices or actions that one can take towards healing the little child, was gratitude, forgiveness, and a prop that he recommended, something very visual that you can use, is having some photographs of you in different ages as a child. Maybe when you were 2, maybe when you were 5, 7 and 10 or something like that. And looking at yourself as a child facilitates the process of healing and sending forgiveness and gratitude to our little child inside of us. One other wonderful practice that I've learned from my conversation with Alan was when I look at my reflection in the mirror. And I will add to that it doesn't even have to be a mirror. You can use a black screen. So if you turn off your computer monitor, or if you look at your phone while the screen is off, you can see the reflection. So send good vibrations, send love to that man or that woman that you see in the mirror. Finally, one more very powerful method that Alan discussed was the Hawaiian practice of 𝗁𝗄𝗄𝗃. And there is a wonderful book by Dr. 𝗁𝗂𝗃 called Zero Limits, which describes the practice in detail. It is an old Hawaiian practice to help you heal and reconcile, and I will link in the show notes some resources about 𝗁𝗄𝗄𝗃 if you want to explore that topic more. Personally, I believe it's fascinating, and I have personally implemented it on and off periods of times. And to overly simplify the practice, 𝗁𝗄𝗄𝗃 consists in repeating to yourself, and you don't even have to say it out loud, you can repeat it to yourself inside your mind, 4 phrases, and it doesn't matter in which order you will say them. These 4 phrases are: I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And you just repeat them over and over again, and it leads to some moments of more awareness and reconciliation and calmness, and I have experienced that. It is an excellent practice to explore. Also, one of the books that Alan recommended, and it was actually the book that turned his life around when he was 21, was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a classic and certainly worth a read or a reread if you have read it in the past. And the last thing I will share with Alan's actionable items was something that he said when I asked him about what advice he would give to his teenage self if he could go back in time. And he said, I would tell to myself, doubt yourself less, take chances, don't be afraid of life and other people's opinions. And for me, this is a beautiful phrase, encompasses lots of wisdom. Doubt yourself less, take chances, don't be afraid of life and other people's opinions. It's beautiful and simple and yet profound. And the last thing I will share as part of my reflection and distillation of this wisdom and actionable items I got from Alan Kleinams is a snippet of him talking about personal development.
Those kinds of things, it causes us to shrink a little bit, just a little bit. We shrink a little bit more, we shrink a little bit more, we shrink a little bit more. And then we suddenly find ourselves in our 20s, in our 30s, and we're not expressing ourselves with freedom, you know? And so personal development means, like, how can you discover who you really are and what your strengths are and what you really love to do? And when you develop yourself in certain areas, you find out, oh, wow, you can express yourself, you know? You do have a voice, you know? You can speak out. You have got an opinion, you know? You do have certain strengths and attributes that you can apply in different areas. That's what it means for me, really.
Mm-hmm. And the second one I will reflect on is episode 3, which was Dr. 𝗁𝗂cie Salim. 𝗁𝗁cie is a medical doctor from Houston, Texas, who has a fascinating story because it seemed like his future was carved in stone after 9 years of training to become a medical doctor and hundreds of thousands of dollars of expenses in education, universities. He actually shifted his career completely away from medicine into his passion, and it is very inspiring for anyone who wants to change direction in their life and to follow their dream, even if it looks like there are no options, like their path is carved in stone. 𝗁𝗁cie talked a lot about believing in the impossible and using your God-given ability, that's how he called it, to create your reality. And in terms of actionable items, takeaways from me, from the conversation, visualization and the way that he used the power of his mind to manifest the goals that he had set was very intriguing. And so I asked him in quite detail about specifically his visualization techniques, how he did it, for how long, how often, and so on. And I also asked him about dealing with the big challenge of our conscious mind that doubts our belief when we try to visualize something that is outside what we are familiar or comfortable with. So his tips for visualization, one of them was to do it all the time, as often as you remember. So if you have a goal and an aspiration to achieve something, to manifest that goal, every single time you are aware, you are conscious, use that visualization muscle. And you could be driving, you could be shaving, you could be washing the dishes or whatever. And another thing he said was, when you write your goal down, say it loud and believe it. And it may be hard to believe in something. Sometimes it's hard to believe in something when it's not there yet. So his advice was to start believing just 1%. Just believe 1% that it can happen. And then once you are comfortable with that, increase it. Go to 5% and then 10%, etc. And I will put here a little snippet of this conversation about how he described this particular element.
I had no idea how that was going to happen. But when I made the belief and I made the intention, I thought, okay, well, if I believe in this 1%, just 1% for now, that's enough for me to get started in believing in it, right? And now I just have to believe in it hard. And that's a concept that I also love teaching my students is, you know, when you can start to believe in something just 1% and then practice believing it every single day. And that's called believing in something hard. It's like when you're choosing to believe in something impossible, when you know that there's no evidence for it to happen or exist, but you choose to believe in it anyway, that's when the magic happens. And so I continue to believe in this impossible goal. And from 1%, it went to 5%, 10%, 15%. And what happened is that my brain started to come up with ideas and ways for me to get closer and closer to that goal.
One other great tip, another action he gave, was when you visualize, to move mentally into the future, project yourself 5 or 10 years from now and get into the place of your future self. And that's a very, very powerful technique. Another interesting fact about 𝗁𝗀 was that when I met him at that time, when we had the conversation, we were both a part of the Knowledge Broker Blueprint program by Tony Robbins and 𝗁𝗀𝗄𝗆. And 𝗁𝗀 was one of the people who won a competition and went and met 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗆 at his home in Arizona. And I asked 𝗁𝗀 what was his biggest takeaway from spending one day with 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗆. And what he told me, his biggest thing he got, the insight, was that there will be on our journey as entrepreneurs or on our life journey, there will be times with progress and times of roadblocks. And you will learn either way. But the important thing is to keep your eye on the long game. And I will close my reflection about 𝗁𝗁 Salim with what he would advise his teenage self if he could go back in time. He said, love yourself, stop caring about what other people think of you. You are an imperfectly perfect human being and you are on this planet for a reason. And I think that's, again, a very solid piece of advice and very profound. So these were my reflections and a culmination of the knowledgeable items, the actionable items I got from Alan Kleinams and 𝗁𝗁 Salim, those two conversations. And as I said in the beginning, this kind of reflection I will tweak it, and maybe in the following episodes I will have a few more episodes or categorize some of them. As I said earlier, it is a work in progress and I will allow my intuition to guide the best direction for this project. In either way, I really hope that you find this useful. Repetition is the mother of skill, and implementation, execution is the ultimate power. It's not knowledge. So again, the biggest purpose of me doing this consolidation that I will be doing on Thursdays is to convert the knowledge into wisdom, to convert information into action which can lead to transformation. So I hope you found it useful, and I will be looking forward to your feedback. So go to my website at 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗆.com and send me a message through there with any feedback. I really appreciate you listening. I'll see you next week, and until next time, stand out, don't fit in.